Welcome to this explainer on Chapter 13 of Modern Telecommunications. This is actually part 13 of an absolutely fantastic 15-part tutorial series put together by Virtualization Options LLC, which is a Colorado-based technology research, education, and advisory organization. Today, we're going to meticulously map out the multi-layered evolution of the technologies that literally power our connected world. We're looking specifically at the insights from Chapter 13, and let me tell you, it is packed with crucial information for any IT professional trying to understand the invisible infrastructure all around us. Okay, let's dive right in by asking the ultimate question. How in the world did we evolve from the simple, short and long electrical pulses of the 1840s telegraph to the AI-driven, cloud-native 5G networks of today? You know, it wasn't just a story of simply making things go faster. It was a series of massive, fundamental architectural transformations. But before we trace that evolution, we really need to define our baseline. Telecommunications is essentially the science and art of transmitting information across distances using electronic or optical signals. Whether we're talking about a classic copper wire, a fiber optic cable, or the invisible electromagnetic spectrum, everything we're discussing today still fundamentally relies on moving raw signals across physical boundaries. So here's our structural roadmap for today's explainer. First up, we'll cover foundations, analog to digital. Second, networks, PSTN and the internet. Third, the rise of VoIP. Fourth, cloud and telecom convergence. And fifth, 5G and virtualized networks. All right, let's get into Section 1, Foundations, Analog to Digital. Early telecom engineers faced a massive hurdle because analog signals degrade continuously over distance. Think about it like a game of telephone. Every amplifier in the chain doesn't just boost the good signal, it amplifies all the accumulated background noise right along with it. Digital signals fundamentally solve this issue. They allow for perfect regeneration over long-haul networks simply because a receiver only ever needs to distinguish between two definitive states, a 1 and a 0. To make that actual jump from an analog voice to digital bits, engineers relied on the Nyquist-Shannon sampling theorem. They figured out that since the human voice maxes out around 3400 Hz, they could accurately capture it by sampling it exactly 8,000 times a second. Then, they quantized each of those samples into 8 bits. Well, 8,000 times 8 gives us our magic number, 64,000 bits per second. This 64 kbps standard is literally the foundational unit of capacity that still underpins global telephony today. Now, obviously, you can't run a separate physical wire for every single conversation sharing that 64 kbps capacity, right? So, we use multiplexing. First, there was frequency division multiplexing, or FDM, where each channel gets a unique radio band, kind of like tuning into different broadcast radio stations. Then came time division multiplexing, TDM, which allocates repeating time slots within a digital bit stream for classic telephone circuits. And finally, we have statistical multiplexing. This one is demand-driven, making it incredibly efficient because it allocates bandwidth based on actual traffic. It's the perfect engine for the bursty, unpredictable data we send across the modern internet. Moving right along, we have Section 2, Networks, PSTN, and the Internet. The major paradigm shift in this era was the transition away from circuit switching. You see, the legacy PSTN relied on circuit switching, meaning a dedicated end-to-end path was locked in for your entire phone call. Sure, it guaranteed low latency, but it was profoundly wasteful because that circuit stayed open and reserved even when no one was talking. The internet completely changed the game by bringing us packet switching. Instead of a dedicated path, your data is chopped into tiny packets, sent into a shared pool of bandwidth, and reassembled at the destination. It is vastly more efficient for modern data traffic. Now, to manage the immense complexity of these packet-switched networks, the industry adopted the OSI reference model. It's an indispensable framework for IT pros. At Layer 1, the physical layer, you have the actual raw bit transmission over cables. Layer 2, the data link layer, brings structure with Ethernet frames and MAC addresses. Layer 3, the network layer, introduces logical IP addressing and routing across entirely different networks. And Layer 4, the transport layer, handles the end-to-end delivery using protocols like TCP, which brings us nicely to Section 3, the rise of VoIP. The shift in our IT closets was absolutely staggering during this time. The traditional office PBX used to require massive, dedicated telephony hardware hidden away in a back room somewhere. Voice over IP moved all of that call control onto commodity software servers. The humble desk phone was completely transformed from a specialized device into just another node on an IP network. Ultimately, VoIP fundamentally redefined what a voice call actually is. Rather than holding that traditional 64 kilobits per second circuit open, VoIP digitizes the voice, compresses it, packetizes the data, and streams it as incredibly fast UDP datagrams across the exact same internet we use for web browsing. The only real catch here? It absolutely requires end-to-end latency below 150 milliseconds to keep the conversation sounding natural without awkward delays. Let's jump into Section 4, Cloud and Telecom Convergence. This convergence completely flipped the physical reality of the network. We moved entirely away from the legacy model of capital-intensive, dedicated hardware racks, making a massive leap to elastic, cloud-native infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. Carriers are literally out there abandoning dedicated physical switching equipment in favor of running their operations on the same hyperscale cloud platforms that host your favorite websites. It's an amazing shift that replaces massive capital expenditure with highly flexible operational expenditure. And to manage this massive cloud scale, network engineers basically rely on data center orchestration using two primary tools. First, we have virtual machines, which use a hypervisor to abstract physical compute resources into heavy-duty, isolated execution environments. But increasingly, the telecom world is moving to containers. Containers are a much lighter-weight alternative. Because they share the host operating system's kernel, they don't have to boot an entire OS every single time. They start up in mere milliseconds, making the whole network incredibly agile. And finally, we arrive at Section 5, 5G and virtualized networks. You know, the secret engine driving the 5G revolution isn't just about faster speeds or shiny new antennas. It's network function virtualization, or NFV. This is the groundbreaking concept of decoupling network functions, like firewalls, load balancers, or even entire core routing systems, from proprietary hardware appliances. NFV allows carriers to run their entire core network purely as software on standard off-the-shelf servers. It's a total game changer. And all of this virtualization unlocks network slicing, which Chapter 13 notes is perhaps the most commercially significant new capability introduced by 5G. Operators can now take one single physical network infrastructure and slice it into multiple independent, logical networks, giving each and everyone its own dedicated security and performance guarantees. So, in practical terms, a 5G operator can simultaneously run radically different services on the exact same physical cell tower. They can have an EMB slice providing massive throughput for a consumer streaming a 4K video. Right alongside that, a URLLC slice, providing sub-millisecond ultra-reliable latency for an automated factory or even remote robotic surgery. And then a third, MMTC slice, optimized with minimal overhead just to support millions of tiny battery-powered IoT sensors. All of these are totally isolated, all running on one physical network. It's wild! As we wrap up this explainer on Chapter 13, we really must emphasize the ultimate advice the source material provides for IT professionals trying to navigate this incredibly complex virtualized landscape. The takeaway is simple but profound. Think in systems. Just rote memorization of a single protocol, yeah, that's no longer enough. The highest value belongs to professionals who can truly see how radio physics, software architecture, security policy, and business economics all interact across the entire telecommunications stack. The true power lies in understanding how a tiny change all the way down at the physical radio layer cascades all the way up through the logical layers to impact the cloud applications we rely on every single day. So, I'll leave you with a final thought from our journey today. If software can completely absorb and replace the massive, rigid hardware networks of the past, what seemingly impossible challenges will the networks of the future solve next? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep thinking in systems.